Alright, so I'm back for another. And I won't lie, I really haven't been paying too much attention to a lot of this stuff. When Jake Paul first came out, I actually sided with him. I thought it was great what he was doing. He was doing something very similar to what I was doing on this page, whatever it was, 10 years ago. Only the difference was I wasn't trying to, make anything out of it. I wasn't trying to go viral and make money out of it. I just started my own little, boxing league for fun. I actually didn't even really start it. Somebody else had asked me to box them. I went in the yard, I boxed them, we videotaped it, we posted it on YouTube. Then a couple other friends were like, yo, let me get a crack at it. And then random people started hitting us up and were like, yo, can we come fight in the league and shit like that. So it turned into like an underground fight league, which Mighty Mouse has on here. Jake Paul basically turned the same thing into a pay-per-view star. So I had nothing but support and respect for it. And I thought it was wrong of people that kept asking him, oh, you beat this guy, you beat a real fighter. I mean, bro, here's the thing. Like, if you just come into boxing at 20-something years old, like, a lot of these dudes have been fighting. Floyd Mayweather was in the gym at fucking 2 years old, bro. My friend Junior, same thing, in the gym at 2 years old because of their dads and stuff like that. So you literally have people that have been raised doing this shit. You picked up a pair of boxing gloves in your 20s. So I thought it was fair that he started off fighting another YouTuber, and then he graduated to whatever it was, a professional basketball player, then basically a professional wrestler. I know the guy was a UFC fighter, but he really was a wrestler that went into the UFC. He had, won a medal in wrestling, I believe. Never was a striker, but still, I mean, high class, high level professional athlete that has been in there with some great strikers and beat some of them or stayed in there with some of them, whatever the case. Put that dude to sleep in what, 2 minutes? Again, I'm not saying these things are, he's not, beating Roy Jones Jr. and fucking Andre Ward and Canelo. Like, I understand that, but this dude just started boxing and shit. Then he moves on to another UFC fighter, but a striker. And, he wins that fight, and then he rematches him and puts him to sleep, and a lot of people are yelling that it's fake. Listen, bro, if you think that was fake, just go watch another sport or something, because, you don't fake getting knocked unconscious like that. And I'll tell you, bro, if they're faking getting knocked unconscious like that, or they're letting each other knock each other unconscious like that, then, when I find out that that's real, I'll certainly be not watching boxing anymore. But point is that he was signed to fight Tommy Fury twice before Tommy Fury pulled out twice. I won't even get into why. Then he was signed to fight Rockman Jr., and that didn't go through, and people are like, oh, well, you asked him to lose too much weight. Okay, maybe, right? But, again, we're talking about a guy with, 4 fights under his belt, 0 of them being against boxers, and now all of a sudden he's going to step up and fight a heavyweight legend's son, who's got 15 or so fights under his belt and outweighs him by 30 pounds. So what, he asked him to lose a lot of weight, right? Can't lose it, just say no. Or don't want to lose it, just say no. Say, nah, man, you talking all this shit. Come fight with the big boys, meet me at this weight, or whatever the case is. Listen, you signed to fight at a certain weight. You couldn't make the weight. It is what it is. I'm not saying Rockman was scared. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying the fight didn't happen. Now we got Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, coming again this week, and I'm not gonna lie, bro. I didn't even know this was coming on, or I would have made this video sooner. Like I said, I haven't really been paying much mind to Jake Paul at all, or boxing in general. The reason is because a lot of clown shit. A lot of the big fighters not fighting each other, bad decisions. Clown show fucking cards where we got Snoop Dogg fucking commentating and all this other shit. Bro, listen, I'm all for entertainment. I'm all for funny shit. I'm all for being entertained. I'm even all for random people fighting. I don't give a fuck. I got 2 people that got an issue on YouTube or whatever the case is. Throw them on the undercard. Let them fight. I don't care. I don't mind seeing that. Don't be putting 8-0 boxers against reggae singers and shit like that. I mean, this is fucking stupid. And I've spoke about this in another video, so I'm not going to get too deep on it. Go check out my State of Boxing video if you're interested in seeing my take, all that. But I just brought it up because I wanted to point out why I haven't really been paying much mind to things, on top of the fact that I got kids and a family and stuff like that. So, you know, I haven't really been in the mix like that, but I definitely been trying to get back into it this year. That's going to be dependent on boxing, to be quite honest with you, because, you know, I'm committed to watching it if they're going to put quality shit on. I'm not going to fucking pay for pay-per-view fights that aren't pay-per-view fights. Just not going to do that shit. I'm not going to fucking watch, you know, Terrence Crawford go fight some fucking random dude I never heard of when he's supposed to be fighting Errol Spence. I'm just not going to take part in that nonsense. And you know what? Maybe years down the line, I might be bothered that I missed some of this shit, but I don't care, bro. Like, it's a principle for me, and I got other things to do. So if you're not going to, you know, you're not going to do it the way it's going to be done, I'm not really going to pay much mind to it. But getting into the Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury fight now, and this won't be too long of a video, but I just wanted to talk about why I didn't have the video up and shit sooner. But I've watched very, very little on this fight. I think I watched one video that somebody had put together, you know, kind of just pinning the match up and breaking it down and shit like that. But I have my own vague opinions on this. I don't know. I didn't see... I think I might have saw highlights of Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. Listen, bro, again, I'm going to say the same thing, and I'm not saying this to knock Jake Paul. I'm just saying it because it is what it is, right? Anderson Silva is a legendary MMA fighter. Anderson Silva is not a boxer. Anderson Silva is also 40-something years old. Did Anderson Silva beat a boxer in a boxing match? He did. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., right? But, I mean... Bro, like, is that dude eating bowls of cereal and coming in 20 pounds overweight? I mean, has anyone taken Chavez Jr. seriously in a very long time? Good fighter. Very good, impressive win for Anderson Silva to come into a different sport at 40-something years old and beat a dude of that caliber. I'm not trying to knock Anderson Silva. I'm just trying to make a point, again, that Anderson Silva is not the cream of the crop. And I don't think Tommy Fury is the cream of the crop either. But I do think it's a little bit different than Anderson Silva, probably. We'll see, though, right? I mean, you know, maybe I'm underestimating Anderson Silva. Maybe I'm overestimating Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury I really know nothing of at all. So I can't really sit here and say much about Tommy Fury. I think at a first quick glance, this fight looks like a very even fight as far as, you know, skill-wise and experience and stuff like that is concerned. I'm sure Tommy Fury has more boxing experience, but professional boxing experience is at least somewhat in the same ballpark. There's three things right now that are making me lean more towards Jake Paul to win this fight than Tommy Fury. Even though I think it's a pretty 50-50 fight, there's three circumstances that are making me lean towards Jake Paul more. Number one, and quite simply, is that this fight was signed like over a year ago. I have to assume that coming from the family he comes from, that Tommy Fury's been in a boxing gym for the majority of his life. No matter what his amateur record is, no matter what his professional record is, and I don't know this for a fact, I'm just telling you what I think. I have to assume that this dude's been in a boxing gym for a lot longer than Jake Paul has been in a boxing gym. So, yeah, experience would factor Tommy Fury, but professional experience is pretty much the same. I'll get into their resumes in a second. But the thing that the reason that I'm bringing this up as far as, you know, the time is concerned, last year, I'm not saying I would have said, oh, Tommy Fury is definitely winning this fight. But I just think the longer you give Jake Paul, the better it is for Jake Paul. You know, I had a rib injury, I pulled out. All right, cool. I had visa issues, I pulled out. All right, cool. But all this shit is giving Jake Paul more time in the gym. And when somebody's 20-something years old, the first time they pick up boxing gloves or the first time they step in a boxing gym, more time in the gym is the last thing you want to give them, especially when it's somebody like Jake Paul, who, again, at first glance, from what I can see, appears to be working very hard. He appears to be in the gym often. He appears to be trying to get better and better and better. Where his ceiling is, I don't know, and I'm not even really here to comment on that. I'm just here to comment on the fact that he is progressively trying to get better in this sport. So I just feel like the more time you give him, that's not to say give Jake Paul another 6 months and he's a lock to win this fight. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the more time you give him, the better off I think it is for Jake Paul. That's reason number one. It's been probably over a year since they were supposed to fight. So that year gap is leaning me a little bit towards Jake Paul, right? On top of that, and I don't read too much into this because, again, we don't really know, or at least I don't really know for a fact what the scenario is. But I do know that they were signed to fight twice before, and Tommy Fury pulled out of the fight twice before. So whether he had a real rib injury, I don't know. Whether he had real visa issues, I don't know. And I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm just saying that there comes a point where it starts to not matter, right? Like, you at some point, you have to say, all right, I got to fight, though. I pulled out the last 2 times, or whatever the case is. So maybe you really did have a rib injury, right? But you're talking about Jake Paul like he's a clown, he's a YouTuber, he can't fight, he's not in the same league as me. All right, pull out once because you had a rib injury, right? Then there's something else. To me, there comes a point, bro, where you got to find a way to make it happen. You know what I mean? Especially against a guy like that. Against a guy that you're trying to write off as not being in the same league as you. How many times are you going to pull out of the fight, bro? If the dude's... Like, here's the thing. There are certain people when I had a boxing league that asked to fight me, right? I'm telling you right now, I won't lose to these people. It doesn't matter if I had a hurt hand or a hurt rib or whatever. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't have postponed the fight if I had an injured rib. What I am trying to say is if I was talking all this shit about somebody, how I didn't like somebody, and they were going to be an easy fight, and I was going to win every second of the fight and then stop them, I wouldn't pull out of that fight twice no matter what. I just wouldn't. And maybe that's wrong of me. Maybe that's my pride or my ego talking, but I'm just speaking from personal experience. At some point, I'm just going to get him in the ring with that dude, especially if I think, all right, I got a crack rib and it's going to hinder my performance, but I'm still easily going to win this fight. Like, then get in the fucking ring. You know what I'm saying? So, again, I'm not reading too much into it, but just little steps, right? We're giving Jake Paul a lot of time now, so maybe I lean 51% for Jake Paul. Then you look at how many times Tommy Fury has pulled out of this fight before. Maybe I lean 52, 53% for Jake Paul. You know what I'm saying? Then the third thing that I think is a real red flag, and this is the one that I want to talk about the most, actually, is Tommy Fury's record. Tommy Fury's like 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, whatever he is. He's around there. And, again, I have friends that are professional boxers. My boy Junior Yunus, 14-0. Marcus Brown is no longer undefeated, but was undefeated for a while. Still has a very solid record. So, trust me, bro. I know how boxing works. I understand that there's stepping stones and platforms and stuff, right? And when you start off in your career, you're probably not going to start off against a dude with a winning record. I get that, right? You're going to start off with a dude with a losing record. 1-10, 2-15, whatever. 0-6. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get these guys that have losing records but not a lot of fights. By your 5th fight, your 10th fight, you might work your way up to some guys that are like 500, maybe have winning records, but not great records, 9-3, 8-3, 12-5, things like that. By your 10th plus fight or so like that, that's when you start taking on some people where, all right, this guy's got 7 losses, but he's 29-7. He's got a lot of experience and a decent amount of wins. Or you take on a guy who's got a good amount of losses but has never been stopped. You know what I mean? And we see how you handle a guy that's not going to stop and how he keeps coming. There's this progression that's gradually made. And I'm not saying that Tommy Fury is not making any progression. But Tommy Fury fought a guy that was 0-35 and a guy that was 10-127. Now, first of all, I want to just say this, and I'm being dead serious about this. How are you considered a professional fighter when you're 0-35? What about that makes you professional? You're a professional heavy bag. You're literally what you do is you get beat up for a profession. You're not a professional fighter. So to me, that's almost odd, honestly. Like, I understand a losing record. I understand a really bad record. But right now, if I was to go get in a ring with a dude that's 0-35, I don't even think I deserve a win on my resume after winning that fight. Because isn't it literally the same as somebody just walking up and saying, here's a win? No, this dude has never beat anybody. So what in the world is to make me believe that this dude's going to win a fight after losing his first 35 in a row? What fucking boxing commission is clearing this dude to fight after being 0-35? I just 10 and 127. I mean, bro, at what point do we say, hey, you're not good at this. This is not for you. This is not your sport. You're literally 0-35. We're not going to keep clearing you to get your head pounded in and throwing wins on people's resumes when you clearly are not capable of beating anybody. Sorry, the dogs were going wild. But, yeah, like I was saying, bro. 0-35, 10 and 127, 10 and 121, whatever the fuck it was. I don't know, man. I feel like, yeah, Tommy Fury is a real boxer, right? In the fact that he comes from a boxing family and he's had 10, 8, whatever it is, professional fights on his record, whereas most of the people that Jake Paul fought had no boxing fights at all on their resume, let alone wins or losses. They just didn't have any professional boxing matches for the most part. So, I'm not trying to knock Tommy Fury, bro. I just feel like Tommy Fury's level of opposition has been so low that I'm astonished that those people are even considered professional boxers. I mean, take Nate Robinson, for example, right? Clearly not a boxer. Clearly can't really fight. Got knocked the fuck out right away by Jake Paul. If we put Nate Robinson in 35 professional boxing matches, and we're not talking against people like Jake Paul, not saying Jake's an animal, but Jake could fight. Jake's got big one-punch power, right? Let Nate Robinson get in there against the guy who's 1-10. Then after that, let Nate Robinson get in there against a guy who's, 3-8. After that, let Nate Robinson get in there with a guy who's 500. And we'll keep doing this. Do we think Nate Robinson goes 0-35? There's no way Nate Robinson doesn't find a way to win one of these fights against one of these lower guys if he really trains for boxing and tries to become a professional boxer, right? I think we could all agree that Nate would find a way to win one fucking fight somewhere. So, again, yeah, you beat up a professional basketball player with no boxing experience, but he still might be better than some of the people that Tommy Fury's beat up. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like there's a couple of little things where it makes me question where I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, you're giving Jake Paul a lot of time to improve. You pulled out of the fight 2-3 times already. And you're fighting guys that literally should not even be considered professional boxers. So, in a 50-50 fight, when I take those three things into consideration, I got to lean towards Jake Paul. So, end of the day, man, I don't know what the odds are on this fight. I think I heard that Jake Paul is the favorite. I'm not sure that I would put money on Jake Paul like that. I'm not sure that I'm really that, confident that he's going to win, but making this video and taking all things into consideration that I've seen so far, which hasn't been much, but just taking what I've seen into consideration so far over the past year, I'm going to ride with Jake Paul by decision. Peace.